Hello, friends. I am joined today by a sweet napping bean. Look at this baby. So, today we're going to talk about stats from 2025 and check in, see how I did with the goals that I set for myself, and then talk about the goals that I have for 2026. So, to get started, I have some stats to go over. I'm going to try and be kind of quick about these, but we'll see how I do. So I read a total of 184 books, which was 55,958 pages. I listened to 253 hours and 11 minutes of audiobooks. My best reading months were January and September for the highest number of books read. January of last year was also the highest number of pages and the most hours listened to. My average rating was a 4.11, which is actually a little bit skewed because for like longer series, like manga series, especially if I really like it, I tend to just rate it highly. So like it's either in like the 4, 4.5, or a 5, and I don't really go by individual volumes. Like I just rate it highly across the board. And so that's kind of why it's a little bit skewed that way. And then I read 109 books in series, 37 books in series of standalones or interconnected standalones, and then 37 actual standalones. Of the books in series, I read 62 first books, 67 sequels, and 13 final books. I also read 4 companion books, so like short story collections or prequels or that sort of thing. And then I read mostly hardbacks. Ebooks were second, and then manga was just after that. I read mostly adult books with 117 books in that age range. I read 30 young adult books and 27 new adult books with middle grade and children's, and like I have an all age range for some of the books that I read. I read predominantly fantasy. It was 60.7% with 111 books. Romance made up the second largest category with 43 books, and then sci-fi, fiction, mystery, etc. taking up the rest. I have a fun chart that is book source by month, and it's really just for me to look at, like just to see where I'm getting the books that I'm reading, and breaking it down by month was, made the most sense to me. So there was a lot of KU, there was a lot of Fairy Loot. I was really trying to focus on owned TBR, and kind of just seeing the breakdown of that is pretty fun. For money spent, I spent the most at Fairy Loot, and I think the second highest was at Broken Binding, which tracks because they put out amazing editions. And then I had 193 physical books come in. And of those, 59 were collected. So specific editions that I wanted, or just a physical copy of something that I had already read and wasn't going to be added to the TBR. I read 59 subscription books. I reread 16 books and DNF'd 7. I started 67 series and completed 13. I DNF'd 19 series. I think that is a little bit skewed because a lot of them are romance, like interconnected romance stories where I really, really only wanted to read one, or after I read like one or two, I was like, I'm fine with not coming back to this. And maybe it's something I would come back to at a later date, but for now it's a DNF. So maybe a little bit skewed to the high side for that. I started the year with 557 books on my TBR, added 143 books in between reading down my TBR and then unhauling a few books that I decided I was honestly probably never going to get to. I brought that down to 546. However, I did a recount of the physical books and have 20 less than that. And then another thing that I have been doing for a couple years is just noting the like my favorite and least favorite book of the month. But then I also decided to add the favorite series for the month. What I actually end up doing with both of these is creating a matrix for them. And I actually got this idea from Jess from Jashi Curran. She does bullet journaling on YouTube. She uses this more for like prioritizing tasks that she wants to get done when she has a long to do list. And basically, what you do is you pit A and B against each other and then A and C. And so it's like a head to head for each book against each other. And it gives you a little bit more of an accurate idea of which one is truly your favorite. So, according to my favorite books matrix, Voidwalker by S.A. McLean was my favorite book, followed by Faithbreaker by Hannah Kaner and The God and the Grecian by Sophie Kim. And I had some other runners up. Oh, I also had Darker by Four, which was tied with Faithbreaker for second place. And then I wasn't planning on doing this, but I was like, honestly, my favorite books of the year were more in the series that I read. So I just decided, I was like, you know what? We are just going to go ahead and do this with the series that I read as well. So my top series was the Rook and Rose trilogy by M.A. Carrick. It starts with Mask of Mirrors. Second place went to Rift War Saga, which is Magician by Raymond E. Feist. That's the first book. And then the Bloodsworn Saga, which I only read the first one of, was third, followed by Thursday Murder Club and Saint of Steel in fifth place. All right, so I think that does it for stats. So to go over the goals that I set for myself in 2025, I wanted to read 120 books, which I accomplished. I read 184. The second goal was to have fewer than 200 incoming books added to the TBR, which would like on rewatching my goals video was a little unclear. I was like, do I want 200 books total or 200 books added to the TBR? Like less than. Either way, I accomplished my goal because I had 193 come in, so less than 200. And then I only added 133 to the TBR. Go to the store fewer times to purchase books, which I accomplished. I did not accomplish lowering my TBR to 500 before I went to the store. That didn't happen. And then I wanted to also focus on sequels, which I did. I just don't know that I could do better, is the long and short of it. I did identify library reads, so where I get them from the library instead of spending my money on them. I think that's something that was maybe a little bit contrary to my overall goal for last year, which was to like get a little more aggressive about reading down the books that I have in my house. I don't know that I was really focusing on the books that I wanted to get from the library, if that makes sense. And like I mentioned a little bit ago, I started last year with 557 books on my TBR and ended the year with 546 books. However, I did do a recount of the physical books on the TBR and got 526. I did opt out of counting some of the books that I do know that I want to read or reread for a specific project. I didn't include those on my main TBR. I know I wanted to get to them. I just am not going to include it in the rest for now. And then of those 526, 102 of them are books that I want to reread. And that's mainly books that I need to reread the first in series or first couple in a series in order to finish the series. And then 408 of the books are books that I have not read at all. 16 books are on my Libro FM because I do put those audiobooks on my TBR just because I am purchasing them. The third goal was to note if I was not using KU, which I did note it. I just didn't do anything about it. And then I wanted to read 12 audiobooks. I ended up reading 14 and almost quadrupling the number of hours listened to because I think I listened to somewhere in the 70-hour range in 2024. So that was really successful. I also wanted to read 5 library books. I ended up picking up 9 from the library, which also felt really nice. And then my fourth goal from last year was to work on project reads. So, like, try a chapter video, 6 months in a subscription box, like other project videos. I did a couple, but they are unedited, sitting on Damien's computer and obviously not posted yet, but they are ready for me to sit down and edit them. So, I will hopefully get those out soon. Goal 5 was to reread as desired. Definitely accomplish this and feel good about it. And then the sixth goal was to make better videos and get on like a schedule for posting videos and that sort of thing. And I do feel like I made better videos, or at least got more comfortable making videos, but I very much did not get on a schedule. And I know why. Some of it was external, some of it was me just being a little bit lax and not prioritizing this as much as I probably could have, especially in the earlier parts of last year. Just knowing that, and like knowing where I need to improve and like just get better about doing this sort of thing. Just carrying that forward for this year. So overall, mostly successful. I would say feeling pretty good. Like I feel like I got like 75% of the way there, which I'm pretty happy about. I have some unhinged goals for 2026, but I will talk about those last. I ended up having 6 goals again, somehow. So the first goal for 2026 is read 125 books, up 5 from last year, which I think is very doable, especially at the rate that I've been reading the last several years. Number 2 has several parts to it, but the main goal is to significantly decrease my physical TBR. I did make 2 videos. One was 26 books that I want to read in 2026, and the other was 26 series that I would like to complete in 2026. So I would like to obviously read those books. I think so obviously there's 26 books. I think there's actually 27 on that list of books. But then I think there's something in the range of like 84 books in the series that I would like to complete video. Oh my God, he's snoring. He's so perfect. Okay, I hope you guys could hear that because it's adorable. So, between those 2 lists, it's already a little bit ambitious. The next part of that is to focus on book box books. And I have a single shelf that has 68 books from book boxes that are like my backlog. It's not all of them, but it's the majority of them. So I would like to clear that shelf. I would also like to clear at least one shelf on my other TBR shelves. I would be happy with either of those goals getting accomplished. I think I would like to try and get at least 100 books off of my TBR and get it down to 425 books by the end of the year. I'm going to have to be really, really good about the books coming in and making sure I'm on top of reading what I have here. And then I would very much like to accomplish getting my TBR down to 500 before I go shopping. And I do think that's really doable, especially since I'm starting at 526 versus 557 compared to last year. And then I got this idea from it's a friend of Win from Literary Diversions, and her name is Kirsty. I think her handle is Mel B's Reads on Instagram, and I think she's only on Instagram. One of her goals for herself was to read all of the books from the previous calendar year that she hadn't gotten to. I don't know that I will exactly accomplish that this year, but we're going to try it. It just seems like a really good way to make sure that you're reading the books that you buy every year and keeping your TBR down, which is the goal. Then moving along to goal 3, I would like to have fewer than 175 books come in total, have 125 or less added to the TBR. So I would like to keep decreasing the number of books that come in and go on the TBR. Goal 4 is to pause KU if I'm not using, and I would like to continue with audiobooks and library reads as desired. And then the 5th goal is to continue reading books that I have before pre-ordering the sequel, specifically for BookBox books. I was really good about that this past year, and I want to say I read somewhere in like the 5 to 7 range. I did read a couple as arcs prior to the pre-order, so I'd like to continue doing that as well, and just making sure that I don't spend money that I don't need to on a series that I'm not enjoying, especially if, like, from the get-go. The 6th and final goal is to actually get on a schedule for videos and make progress on the project videos that I didn't get to last year. I would also like to potentially do like a vlog each month and maybe just try that because I really enjoy watching vlogs. Yeah, I feel like, hi, what are you doing? He's woken up. Oh my goodness. Would you like to see the people? What are you doing, Bean? Oh my gosh. You settling down? Oh, sweet boy. Oh, baby. All right. Yeah, I have done a couple vlogs, and I do have some other project videos in mind, and I'd like to actually just get those done and posted and edited. And then I think I would like to set a goal for doing one video per month. I do already have 2 videos out for January, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. I don't know that I'll get another one out in January, but I do have several that I have started editing. All right, now on to the unhinged ideas. So I was sitting looking at my 26 books and mentally dividing them up to see how many I needed to read each month to accomplish the goal. As I was sitting there, I was like, oh, yeah, okay, two to three books each month. That seems really doable. And then I had the thought, what if I read all of them in 1 month? And then the follow up thought was, what if I just read 26 books per month this year? And I was like, ah, I could do it. Probably. Probably. Yeah, it would get me to like 312 books if I did that. I don't know that I'm going to accomplish that at all, especially probably not in January. But it'll just be in the back of my mind, like what, like you could do it. It's like that Kermit meme where he's like, you could do it. You could read 26 books this month. Do it. So, yeah, those are my hinged and unhinged ideas. Let me know what you think. Let me know what some of your goals are. And I will see y'all next time. The bean has left the building. By building, I mean he's just over there getting snacks and is not currently next to me. So I can't let you say goodbye to him. But I will see y'all next time. Bye.